Hello, Hometalk viewers. This is Tamisha from Toolbox Divas, and I am here today with my fellow Toolbox Diva, Jennifer, aka the neighbor. And today I'm going to show you how to transform bland walls into glam walls. Boom!
Hey, they're lovely.
So I'm going to show you how to add wainscoting, picture frame style. And this style is inexpensive, and it provides glam and interest to a bland wall, and is especially good in a dining room or in a hallway, along a staircase, and so forth and so on. Okay, so first thing you want to do is you want to prime the walls. And as you can see, I've already primed the walls and painted them. And then you're going to actually mark off where everything will go. So with this picture frame molding that we're doing, I actually added an extra decorative element where I added a trim just under the chair rail. And in my dining room, I already had a chair rail actually installed before I bought the house. So basically what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to use a 1x3 scrap piece of wood.
Lovely.
And I'm going to trace with a pencil down below the chair rail.
Yeah, and I do like the fact that you're using the chair rail as your straight edge.
It is. I'm using the chair rail as my straight edge.
That's so convenient.
It makes it so much easier.
Use what you got.
Yeah, use what you got, make it work. Okay, and so then we're going to outline the edges of where the picture frame molding is going. And I'm just using a 1x4 scrap piece of wood. So basically when you do picture frame molding, your picture frame molding is going to be anywhere from 3 to 4 inches space. And the most important thing when doing the different frames is the spacing has to be exactly the same between all the different frames. So at the edges of the corner, we're just going to take the 1x... Okay, we're not going to drop it.
That was loud.
It was loud. I'm sorry. So we're gonna take the 1x4 and the pencil again, and we're gonna trace along the edges
Using our
trusty dab pencil from Home Depot.
and the
That's what you mean.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm using the actual corner of the wall to guide you down.
That's nice. That's good.
And then you're gonna do the same on the other side. And typically when I'm actually kneeling down on the floor, I normally use a pillow. So instead of like
For your knees.
for my knees, instead of like some kind of a knee
Nice tip.
thing, because the knee thing it feels like it cuts off the circulation, whereas a pillow, it's a little easier.
Nice.
So again, you want to go down the corner.
Let me get in there.
Down the corner.
You don't need to see what you're doing, do you?
No, not really.
Let me get
Not
all
really.
up in there.
All up in my business.
All up in there.
Okay, and then you're going to do the same from the baseboard. And I have an extra wide, long baseboard.
Extra long, wide. Let me see.
Extra
What does that
wide
mean?
baseboard. So I actually upgraded my baseboard a long time ago when I upgraded my flooring. And you know, like typically a baseboard is like this thin or whatever. I like made it like super, super long, super thick, super.
So it's like,
I think it's like 4 or 5 inches.
it's like that thick, people.
It's like 6 inches.
6 inches thick.
6 inches.
I can't quite get
So-
the perspective needed to show that.
So yeah, so then you take your 1x4 again and you trace along the bottom.
I feel like it's too easy.
It is really easy. Okay, so before you go away and start making your picture frames, you actually want to know where all your studs are.
Yes.
Because
studs.
it's essential to know where your studs are.
Not horses.
No, not the kind that
Not
not
horses.
we find
Yeah,
like
no.
not
Yeah.
Yes. Or Chris Hemsworth. Okay, so yeah, you take your stud finder.
You have a thing for him, I can tell. You like Thor.
I do like Thor, but
Right.
anyways.
Anyway, you keep going.
So you take your stud finder and you want to mark where all the studs are, and I always put an S for the studs.
S for stud instead of
Yeah, and then the
something
thing
else.
about your stud finder is going to also tell you where your electrical wiring is. And you always know that when you find the electrical wiring,
I can't
there's
focus. Hold on. There
is always a stud right next to it, because the box, there'll be a stud either to the left or to the right of it, because the box has to sit on that stud.
It has to be attached to something.
It has to be attached
they
to
don't
something.
float, people.
They don't. So yeah, you just want to mark where your studs are, because when you start actually nailing in the frames, you want to try and nail them into the studs. So now I'm going to show you how to make the actual frames.
Nice, that's exciting. Okay.
So when making the frame, it's always good to make a actual jig, so that your frames will actually come out nice and uniform. And the way the jig works is you take a square
edge.
Yeah, so you want to make sure you have a piece of scrap wood that's actually exactly even on at least two sides, because you're going to take your square and you're going to use it so that you can create a perfectly even 90-degree angle, so that you can set your
frame wood,
your trim along the edges.
See if I can get it.
Because you want your trim, your actual scrap wood, to be the width of the actual trim away from the edges of the board.
Okay, wait, we need to reword that because I don't understand.
Okay, so the trim is about an inch to, how much is it? I think it's like an inch, 2 inches, inch and a half in width, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you want to set your actual block an inch and a half away from the edge. And you use a speed square in the middle so that you make sure that you maintain a 90-degree angle. And take a nail gun and mark it in there.
And look, safety glasses.
Yes, always wear your safety goggles. Now I've already pre-cut the actual molding. So this actually works if you're making picture frames or just actually hanging art. And you're going to take some DAP Rapid Fuse. And I also mark the actual width, the length on each piece, because you don't want to connect the wrong size with the wrong size, because then you may have a crooked or wobbly edge. Okay, trim piece. Okay, so then you take some Rapid Fuse. Now I actually like making my picture frames with glue and staples. And then you just set it like so. You can even use your actual, these work great for edges, for 90-degree edges when you're making, when you're doing frames. So you allow this to set, and you can use your brad nailer, or you can use a staple gun on the other end to actually put these together fully. Now, because I always recommend to make all of your frames first. But you're probably asking me, how do you know what size frames to make?
Yes.
All right, so here, let me tell you how you do this. So you know that your spacing is 3.5 inches based upon your size. So you take the actual width from the side that you actually outlined. So you take the actual width of inside the rectangle that you just drew.
That line.
Yes, okay. Inside the two lines. And you actually subtract the actual width of the piece of board that you use to do the spacing. In this case, we used a 1x4. So the actual width is 3.5. So you take the actual width, subtract it by 3.5.
Which is what? What was the actual width? I need numbers.
I don't know. The actual width of this was 39.5.
Okay, and then you subtract the 3.5.
So you subtract 3.5.
That's 36.
36. And then you divide it by the number of boxes that you want. So in this case, because we're only doing one spacing, 3.5, that's 2 boxes. And that tells you the width of each box.
Your spacing. Nice. All right.
So, and the thing though, so what will change for each wall is the width of the boxes based upon the number of boxes that you actually have in the actual area of the wall. But what does not change, the distance between each frame and the actual length of the box.
Frame.
which in this case, the length of the box is 19 and a half for my boxes. But it's not gonna be this actual length because this is where we're gonna do an additional trim piece that I'm about to show you right now.
Okay, nice. This is exciting.
Okay, so like I said before, I'm gonna do a little bit of an extra type of decorative finish. So I like the picture frame moldings, but I like it with a little bit of extra something. A little extra something. So I found this actual molding at my local hardware store, and I was like, oh my gosh, this is perfect. This is the extra something that I need. Okay, so we're gonna take some DAP, strong stick.
Let me focus. Yep, nice.
Constructive adhesive.
All right.
Because you actually need some constructive adhesive. Construction adhesive to actually adhere the actual frames to the wall. You can use this, or you can use something that has a actual tube, kind of like how how caulking is.
Mm-hmm.
But I like this particular glue because it's easy and I don't need a caulk gun to use it. And you're gonna use a brad nailer. So when doing trim, you typically use a 2-inch. Use 2-inch nails. Okay, so you take the adhesive, and this is DAP Strong Stick, and I've already pre-cut these pieces, and I'm going to use my hands in this.
I like the angle of you coming at me with the glue.
So yeah, I have a tendency of
just using your hands.
Yeah, I just get dirty.
You know, they say if you didn't get dirty, you never actually played. So
yeah, it's not like it is on HGTV where like they can wear heels or whatever and not get dirty or have any kind of paint on them. I don't know in what land that exists. Actually.
All right, so where are you going on your line?
Remember that first line that we drew after we outlined 2.5 inches?
Yes.
So we're going to put this trim just below that line.
All right.
And
let me see if I can get behind you there.
You see it?
Yes.
All right. And then, see with that strong stick? That stuff works awesome.
Wow, it's already there. It's like an extra set of hands.
That stuff works awesome.
It's like an extra set of hands.
And then you have already outlined where my studs are.
Boom, right in the stud. Look at that.
I'm going to go there.
Nice.
And strike.
Boom. I like that there's a light on that one.
Oh yeah, I love this. This is my favorite
You
tool.
could technically brad nail in the dark.
Yeah, and this is an 18 gauge. You can actually use a 16 gauge, but the 16 gauge, this 18 gauge actually works great.
16 gauge just sounds like it would be really thick,
so
especially going through thinner, like
actually,
more delicate
the smaller, the lower the number, the bigger the nails.
Yes, the smaller. So 16 is bigger than 18.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah. So with this trim being so thin, I felt like with the 16 gauge, it broke the actual frame.
Mm.
Yes. So now that we have this in place, now we're going to take the 1x4 again, and we're going to trim right below it. We're going to outline right below it because this is actually where the picture frame will rest.
Oh.
Yes. Did I just blow your mind?
My mind is totally blown.
Okay. So you're going to take, so I've already pre-made some frames. You're going to add some adhesive. We're going to add it to the back end. And as you can see, I actually labeled my pieces when I put them together. I actually put the length on them. It makes it easier when I'm putting it together.
You're lining that up right
So
to the underneath.
you're lining it right up to the actual line in the corner. So start with the furthest edge and the nail gun.
Oh, I guess I could hand that to you.
Yes, please. So you want to try and attach it to the studs as much as possible.
Boom. Sorry.
Yeah.
That's some power.
Make sure everything's lined up.
Yeah, and your hands out of the way.
And yeah, you make sure your hand's out of the way.
Wow, that thing's on there.
And being that we're only doing two frames, you just go to the other side and actually line it up to the other side. Let's add the adhesive on here. Got it nice and lined up. Boom. And we've already marked where our studs are. Okay, so next step is, now that we have our frames in place, now it's time to actually hide the nail holes with some wood putty.
Wood putty.
Wood putty. And we're gonna be using Wood Plastic X by DAP. You're gonna just fill it in. You can do this with a putty knife.
Still getting messy, I like it.
Yeah, yes, you can use it, but I use my hands.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, I use my hands. So basically, you're just gonna go into the nails, the nail holes, and
any imperfections.
Imperfections. And when I was putting some of these down and they fell down, some of this came off.
It happens.
Yeah, so we're just gonna put it in imperfections. And once all of that is done, put this down.
Do we move over here?
Move over here. You always want to keep a bucket of hot soapy water on hand, because you don't want to wash any of this stuff off really in the sink. Well, after you wipe your hands a little
it's
bit.
It's like a portable sink.
Yeah, it's like a portable sink. Yeah. So okay. So now that you have your wood putty all dried, now you go. And also another thing about the Wood X is it has a color indicator for the time.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So let me show you that.
We would love to see that.
Yeah, so it's kind of pinkish. Kind of like how the DAP wood putty, how the DAP, yeah, this is kind of pinkish. It actually turns a different color. And some air has gotten exposed to it, so it's not as pink as it once was.
Okay. So it starts out pink.
It starts out pink. So then you take your sanding sponge or any kind of sanding paper.
What's grit?
About 120, medium. About 150. To 100. Grit.
Grit.
Mm-hmm.
You were answering my question before I even asked it.
It's because we are in tune.
We are.
You just sand the putty, go in the crevices, get all this stuff down, make it all smooth. Okay, so once you have everything sanded, next thing you do is you're going to apply some caulking. And you're going to use a crown molding trim caulk. And it's by DAP. And we're using white. But, I mean, it really doesn't matter what color we're using because it's paintable. And we're going to be painting this white.
Okay, awesome.
But because we're painting in white, I'm using white. I can't seem to find...
Like a caulk tip or something?
Yeah, a caulk tip. I can't see. I think I left it in the garage. So
we're just going to make fingers are for you.
So we're going to use our fingers.
We're going old school.
Yes, we are going old school.
Full manual.
Okay. So you're gonna use, this is, if you have questions on how to caulk, you wanna check back at, we did a post earlier this year, last year actually, at the end of last year, on how to caulk. This is similar. However, with this, you don't actually have to outline it with tape.
That looks better, yeah.
Because we're gonna paint over this. Nice. You just wanna make sure you fill in all the crevices, in between the gaps, in between the actual trim and the wall.
Oh, you're doing the top one too.
Yeah, you want to do this everywhere where there's an actual gap.
So how many tubes do you think you're going to end up going through with your whole...
Maybe about 2.
2 tubes.
But not fully 2. Because see, like when I painted this is also one thing I wanted to show you. So when I updated the paint, I saw that the old chair rail was actually cracking. So basically what I would do is, I would take my high tool and I would go back over it to loosen it up. And my 5-in-1 tool.
Let me see what the 5-in-1 tool looks like.
5-in-1 tool.
It's 5 different things in one tool.
It is.
I'm assuming that's why they would call it that.
It is. So
you
you would
have
take
just 2 tools called a 5-in-1.
And you actually would need to caulk in here as well. So this would be something I have to actually go back over later and caulk. And then I would repaint and touch up this area. So I would take a soapy rag and I would run it along the edges.
There you go.
So yeah, so basically I would go ahead and caulk this and caulk all around the gaps and allow it to dry. And once it dries, I will paint over it. And then what? It looks like this.
Look at that. Look how pretty that is.
It is like a new space.
And I gotta tell you, can I just mention how nice it looks with your...
Oh, yes, with my new window seat.
Your window seat.
Yes.
So,
and if you guys were wondering about the window seat, we moved the table out of the way. You can find the actual post on Hometalk on my window seat. And along and all the junk that I keep in it.
Yeah, you don't even look in the drawers,
Yeah.
but there are drawers.
And the full plans are on my site at toolboxdivas.com.
Nice.
All right, so that is it for tonight, guys. Don't forget to subscribe at the end of this video.
Hometalk.com.
Yes. Till next time.